All right, what is going on, Ravens flock? And I am going back behind enemy lines with the Buffalo Bills. So, huge game coming up in Baltimore. Going to be rainy, sloppy game potentially, but this is a massive game. So, once again, if you guys like the video, please subscribe, like, retweet, all the good things. And without further ado, let's get into their offseason. So they add Von Miller, Kyrie Elam, James Crowder, and Tim Settle, James Cook. And they lose Levi Wallace, Dale Williams, Cody Ford, and Jerry Hughes. So the huge addition is Von Miller. Obviously, paid him a lot of money to come over from the Rams and play edge here, and he is absolutely dominating right now. One of the best, probably in terms of metrics, the best edge player in football. But you have Kyrie Elam, first round corner. I was super high on, liked him a lot out of the draft. You have Jamison Crowder, a good slot receiver. Tim Settle, a very good depth defensive lineman from the football commanders, whatever. And then you have James Cook, running back out of Georgia, who they picked pretty high, but I did like James Cook. I had a third round grade on him. So good offseason for him. And then they lose. I think they lose. Like, the only big loss is like the depth in the offensive line. I mean, those guys are starters, but they're like replacement level starters in my opinion. So not huge losses. Jerry Hughes was getting up there in age, and Levi Wallace is a very replaceable corner. So net positive all season for the Bills, in my opinion. Not super worried about that. And then here is the injury report. So this is as of Saturday. This is the injury report. Um, Christian Benford is out. Jake Krumorow out, and Jordan Phillips is out. And then you have Jordan Poyer, who is questionable. Mitch Morris questionable. Dane Jackson questionable. Gabe Davis questionable. So a lot of questionables there. A lot of injury stuff that they are already dealing with before this game, kind of compacting itself. So if Jordan Poyer's out, that's huge. Mitch Morris is out, that's huge. Gabe Davis is out, that's huge. Like these, even Dawson Knox out there, questionable. So we'll see what happens come game time. Ed Oliver as well, limited throughout the week. So lots of injuries going on down in Buffalo. Health is not really favoring them his first couple of weeks this year, as they are trying to repeat as paper champions like they did last year. So going into the depth chart, they have not the right camera, and there we go. Josh Allen as their quarterback, obviously. Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, James Cook, all I would say replaceable running backs. None of them take the cake, so to say, but I think James Cook is probably the best of them in the long term. And then you have Stefon Diggs, Isaiah McKenzie, Khalil Shakir, Jameson Crowder, and Gabe Davis if he's healthy. Pretty good receiving core. We all know those guys. That show up. I mean, Stefon Diggs is playing out of his mind right now. Number one in yards in the NFL. So huge player right there. And then Dawson Knox is questionable. Reggie Gillum, fullback alert. Pretty good fullback. I think he reminds me a lot of Marcel Reese, if you guys remember him from the Raiders. And then their offensive line. A lot of questionables on the offensive line, may I say. But um, I'm not the biggest fan of this offensive line. I think it's somewhere in the 20 to late teens range, but it's not there's no Quentin Nelson, there's no alpha on the line. This is a whole bunch of like solid to okay guys. So um it's okay. Nothing that moves waters, but flipping the defense here, you have Greg Rousseau, Daquan Jones, and Von Miller and Boogie Basham. Boogie Basham can slide in a little bit. Wake Forest finest. And then you've obviously Ed Oliver is questionable. So they'll have one of Tim Settle or Daquan Jones kind of step up in Ed Oliver's role. Maybe they slide Basham or Espinoza inside. You have Jack Lawson down there, kind of forgotten about, but he is a good football player. And then flipping to the linebacker core, Tremaine Edmonds, Matt Milano, two very good linebackers. Matt Milano is underrated at this point in his career. Tremaine Edmonds is a pretty good athlete, 6'4", and can move. And they have Teron Johnson and Dane Jackson and Kyrie Elam as your kind of corners. Dane Jackson is questionable, like I said. So you're looking. That's a pretty thin corner group right there. And not to mention the safety group where Micah Hyde is out for the year, and then you have Jaquan Johnson and Jordan Poyer as starting two, and obviously Poyer's questionable. Once again, there's a lot of injuries here, and I do think this favors the Ravens. But moving on, key matchups: Rashad Bateman, Kyrie Elam. This will probably happen just because of necessity of lack of depth at corner for the Bills, and it's going to be fireworks. I really do. I was a big Kyrie Elam fan coming out of the draft, and I think he moves well. I think he had a lot of teeth shape as a corner out of the draft. Like he was very in phase. He knew what he was doing. So we'll see how this plays out. But I do think Rashad Bateman can get open on Kyrie Elam. Moving on to the big one here, Daniel Falele versus Von Miller. So obviously today, Ronnie Stanley is listed as questionable, and they activate David Sharp from the practice squad. So does not seem like Ronnie Stanley will play tomorrow, but they're going to need a lot of help on Falele's side, I think, because that's what Falele struggled with a lot during the draft was speed rushers, and that is Von Miller. Von Miller is pure speed. So very curious to see how this plays out. And hey, maybe Von Miller just stacks. Maybe Von Miller, like after that second half of last game, he's like, you know what, I'm just coming to this game. I'm just gonna play ball, and he gets deep in his vertical set and really takes control of Von Miller, which is hard to do. But I don't see it happening. Von Miller is a heck of a football player. Like I said, probably the best edge in football right now. So moving on, we have Marcus Peters versus Stefon Diggs. I mean, probably put Marlon Humphrey in this discussion as well. Didn't throw his picture up there, but how are we going to contain Stefon Diggs? How are we going to shut him down? Like I said, leading the league in yards. Like I have him in fantasy, and every week he's just 40-point performances, 30, 20, late 20 points. So he's doing very, very well this year, and it'll be curious. Like I said, it'll be curious to see how we can contain him, how Marcus Peters can continue stacking good games, how Marlon Humphrey can continue stacking good games, and who gets the A-OK on the one-on-one. I think that's something that's very curious to me. But I do think Stefon Diggs will probably get the better of us just because of how good of a football player he is. And then the overview. So the wide receivers versus the corners. Obviously, our corners versus their wide receivers. How is that going to match up? We just talked about it. Diggs versus Peters and Humphrey. Isaiah McKenzie probably getting the slot, or Jameson Crowder getting the slot versus maybe a Pepe or a Brandon Stevens or whoever in the slot. So pretty interesting slot matchups here. And then on the flip side, Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay versus their really banged up wide receiver core. Can we take advantage? And I do think that we could. But the rain, like we're gonna get to it, the rain could throw a wrench in this whole thing. And the Bills' offensive line, we talked about it. I'm just not the most confident in it. I think, like I said, early 20s, late teens, not a top 10 group and not a top 15 group by any measure. So the thing that really makes this engine go is Josh Allen, and he is currently playing really, really well for his standards. You see the MVP talk sprinkled in there. I wouldn't go that far, but he's playing well, and he will make you pay if you do what you did against the Dolphins again. And yeah, he's a good football player. There's nothing else to say about it. And obviously the weather. So I keep checking, and it keeps saying 90% rain tomorrow. Now who knows whether there'll be light rain, a drizzle, or just downpour. So that kind of leads to the last point here. If it's raining, who's going to run the ball better? And it's tough to say because the Ravens' run game really hasn't gotten going without Lamar. So maybe we expect like the 2019 49ers type game where we're just kind of like running with Lamar a lot and we're trying to dominate the ground and run a lot of options and veers and reads. So, yeah, I think that the Ravens, like, they should be able to win this run game matchup if it does come down to it. But we'll see. We will see. Moving on, the schedule prediction for the Buffalo Bills. I got them going 12-5. I mean, they got some pretty tough opponents on here. You got us, you got the Chiefs, you got the Packers, you got the Vikings, you have the Browns, and I think that is pre-Deshaun Watson. But you got the Bengals in there. Like those last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 4 of 6 are divisional opponents. So those aren't give me's. I think the Bills are great in what they do, but I don't want to crown them 13-4, 14-3 paper champion like everybody else does every year, and it's really, really annoying. But moving on, a look ahead to 2023. So they have Jordan Poyer as a free agent, Mitch Morse, their center. You have Tremaine Edmonds down there. You have it's a lot of depth. I think their biggest one is Tremaine Edmonds, who probably get the biggest contract out of everybody else. Jordan Poyer, I really think you could probably replace him if you needed to. Is he listed at fullback on there? Oh, FS. Okay, I'm illiterate, but yeah. So um, it's not a huge free agency class. We're like, okay, we're gonna be losing like a Von Miller or Stefon Diggs. Like they secured those guys, so a lot of depth here. I would expect a few of these guys on the list to be back. You have Devin Singletary down there. Let him go, man. Let him go. You drafted his replacement. Just let him go. But besides that, not a lot of concerning names for the Bills in terms of free agency period. So a little bit more of a quicker video. I have to get out of here. Take care of some things, but yeah, I'm feeling pretty good as a Ravens fan. This Bills team is banged up. They're coming to Baltimore. It's gonna be raining, and obviously Buffalo has tough weather all the time: wind, rain, whatever, snow, sleet, hail. But when it comes down to it, I do think the Ravens win. And like I said on my video with Kevin, I think the Ravens win 31-30 on a late Justin Tucker field goal. So drop your predictions below. And you know what? Whoever gets the prediction right, I will toss them $10 in Cash App, Venmo, whatever. Just send it to me. If you predict the score right, I will toss it to you. And yeah, but if you guys appreciate the video, please like and subscribe. Share with a friend. Quicker than normal. We should be back to like the 15 to 20-minute range next week. Just had to get out of here quickly, but everyone have a good Sunday. Go Ravens, and I will see you next time. Peace.